The Glacier Listener, Peru, high in the Peruvian Andes, where the air is too thin for casual conversation and the great white peaks scrape the ceiling of the world, lived Tomás Quispe. He was a shepherd, but in truth he was a silent historian of the ice. For generations his family had grazed their flocks on the steep slopes, teaching Tomás to read the mountain not by sight, but by sound and silence. He knew the true sound of the glaciers, the deep, vast quiet that suggested eternity, punctuated only by the occasional majestic crack of shifting ice, a sound like God clearing his throat. But one season, the sound changed. The dignified silence was replaced by a relentless, sorrowful noise. Drip, drip, trickle, rush. It was the sound of millions of tiny farewells. Streams were carving paths where only solid white had existed before, and the ancient ice was shrinking, weeping its lifeblood into the gullies. The mountains, Tomás realized, were crying softly. Tomás could not stop the melt, but he could not bear the silence of the people below, who did not hear the sound. So he took up his quena, the traditional Andean flute. He didn't play the familiar folk songs of courtship or harvest. He played the song of the melting glacier. He would sit at the foot of the receding ice wall, raising the flute to his lips, and translate the mountain's sorrow. A high, piercing note represented the endless drip of water. A low, wavering breath mimicked the groan of a deep fissure widening in the ancient ice. His melodies were haunting, beautiful, sorrowful, and inescapable. They were the sound of the past dissolving into the present. Tomás traveled rarely, but his music possessed a strange gravity. Travelers, hikers, and rare researchers who heard him were mesmerized. They recorded his melodies on small devices and carried them down the slopes, into the bustling, noisy cities of Cusco, Arequipa, and Lima. Soon the haunting music, Tomás's lament, reached the country's classrooms. School children across Peru were taught El Canto del Nevado, the song of the snowy peak. They learned the tune not as a dance or a ritual, but as a lesson in urgency, a direct communication from the earth. The music taught what no textbook chart could: the feeling of loss, the raw sound of environmental change. Tomás Quispe, the shepherd, never sought fame. He stayed high above the clouds, still tending his flock, still listening for the shift in the mountain's voice. But through his flute, he had become the Andes' most effective translator, ensuring that a generation of Peruvian children understood his profound truth. The earth has a voice, and its greatest tragedy begins not with a sudden break, but with a sound so delicate, so mournful that it must be captured and taught to be truly heard.